Dumbbells are a great tool that are found in almost every gym around the world and easily purchased online too. For us wheelchair users, they can be a fantastic way to get a workout in from your wheelchair. So what I did, I compiled every dumbbell exercise that I could think of, filmed it all and put it all in this video for you. I have actually no idea how many I filmed, but I'm probably sure I put it in the video title for you to check out. So sit back, relax and enjoy as I take you through the dumbbell exercises that you can do as a wheelchair user. Okay, let's kick things off here with dumbbell chest exercises. And first up here, we're going to do the classic chest press. To do this, shuffle forwards in your chair so you're leant back and push both those hands up towards the sky, targeting those chest muscles and the triceps as well. We've got some variations on it here where we can do a single arm chest press, and also we've got another one coming up using the alternating hands. It's important on this to make sure you are leant back in your chair, however you can do that, because if we're not, that means we are targeting the shoulders rather than the chest. Pick a weight that's appropriate for this and go quite heavy as you can do on this and get a great chest workout in. Next, we've got a chest fly, which is a variation of a chest press where we're isolating the chest muscles more and not using those tricep muscles at the same time. For this one, you may need to go lighter than you would on the chest press with those dumbbells. And again, you've got variations with both single arm and alternating hands as well. With this, start with the dumbbells up above you and lower them down so they're around about chest height, and pull them up without bending those arms at the same time. And now we've got our next variation here, which is a close grip chest press. This one can be a little bit easier on the shoulders as our arm is in a more neutral position. So keep those dumbbells close to each other and press it up, keeping them close the whole way. Again, we have a single arm variation here for those of you who need it. And also we've got the alternating arms version as well, coming up in a second. With these chest exercises, be sure to stay as stable as you can. We've got some variations of these coming up later on that will be more suitable for those who can transfer in and out of their chair. But for now, for those who can't transfer in and out, this is your option. Next up, we've got a reverse grip chest press. As you can see on this one, the palms are facing our head this time as we press up. This just puts the arms in a slightly different position and targets the chest in a slightly different way. Once again, we have a single arm variation to mix it up or for those that need it. And again, we also have an alternating arms one as well if you want a little bit of a different exercise to do for this. Play around with these, with any of them, whether it's both arms together, single arm or alternating arms, to find the one that works for you. Often it's not about the best exercise, it's often about the best one that you can perform. Now we're going to get down onto the floor and out of our chairs and do the chest press again, but now lying on the floor. This one is a little bit better for targeting the chest as a whole because the angle here is better for hitting those chest muscles and the shoulders are getting less involved. Once again, when we're on the floor, we don't have to be restricted by doing both arms together. We can still do the single arm variation and also the alternating arms variation. Obviously, when it comes to doing it on the floor, only do this if you can get back into your wheelchair, but also you can perform this on something like a bed or a platform if that's easier for you to transfer on and off of. I've had some great success in the past of doing this on my bed at home. Next up, we've got a chest press variation that's slightly different to one that we've done already, which is alternating arms out. This is, instead of having both arms down and then pressing one up, alternating the other, we keep the dumbbells up the whole time throughout. Now we're doing a chest fly, or the variation here on the floor. Again, same as the other one that we did, where we were sat in the chair, but now we are on the floor, reaching those arms out to the side, having no bend in the elbow as we're doing it. Now we have a single arm variation as well on this to mix it up or for those that need it. And once again, we also have a alternating hand version where we do one arm, then the other, swapping back and forth between the two to mix it up a little bit and change things for yourself. And we have the alternating arms out variation. As you can tell, our rest period for this is when our arms are up. This means that there's a bit more pressure on the chest and a bit more of an intense exercise than the regular chest fly alternating. And we've also got the floor version of the close press. We've also got the variation for the floor close grip chest press, keeping those elbows together and pressing them up through this workout. And also we've got the single arm variation of that close grip chest press. This can be a little bit kinder on your shoulders, this exercise, so if you are finding that you are getting too much stress, go for the close grip rather than the regular chest press. And we have an alternating version. I'm doing an alternating arms out variation on this one, but you can choose which one works for you the best. Next is a little bit of a different one here that we haven't done already, which is a pullover. This is a slightly more targeted exercise towards a different part of the chest, but an equally great exercise that you can perform for a bit of variation in your chest workouts. We could do this with an alternating arm as well, for again a little bit of a variation and something a bit different for yourself for these workouts. Next up, we've got the bench, and as I mentioned previously, this is one where we're going to be out of our wheelchair on a bench and maybe a little bit more stable to be able to do some of these exercises. And as you can see, I can get through a better range of motion on this because I can get those elbows down lower and get some stretch on the chest, perform the regular chest press. Here we've got the close grip chest press, and again you can see those elbows are getting down lower. I'm getting better range of motion, which is targeting those muscles better. And we've also can do the same with the chest fly. Again, those arms are getting down lower. I'm getting better range of motion and therefore better activation. But this is only good if you can get onto the bench. So only do this if that is possible for you and you stay safe throughout it. Again, the other exercise we could do are the same as what we did on the floor. This is the bench pullover, doing a bench variation of the floor version. And again, we've got another exercise that we've done already, which is the reverse grip chest press. Just mixing up, changing things up. If this works for you, that's great. It may be better for those who have wrist difficulties. It's all up to what you can do. We could also raise that bench back up as well and have an incline bench chest press. This is more similar to the one that we did in the wheelchair, but maybe a bit more stable and a little bit more focus on that chest, but also the shoulders as well. And we can mix in our variations here as well. We've got a close grip chest press as well. I will say for this though, for myself, I don't have much core activation. So doing single arm or alternating versions of these exercises are a little bit more difficult for me to perform without falling over. And obviously we want to stay safe as we can during these. Here we have a chest fly variation on the incline as well, targeting that chest muscle the best we can through isolation on this one. And then lastly, for our chest exercises, we've got that incline bench reverse grip chest press. Bit of a mouthful, but a great exercise if you need that variation and you want to target your shoulders at the same time. Okay, let's move on to some dumbbell shoulder exercises. And to start off here, we're going to do the classic shoulder press. Get those dumbbells in line with your shoulders, press it up above your head the best you can, and lower them back down to the starting position. A great exercise for overall shoulder strength and tricep strength too. We've got a few variations we can do here, starting off with the shoulder press single arm. This also helps to work on our balance at the same time, which is a great way to exercise the shoulders and the core too. Then another variation here is the shoulder press alternating. It's kind of a bit of a mix between the previous two that we looked at. You get a bit of a balance going on, but you also get a little bit of counterbalance, so it can challenge you in a slightly different way. If you get any problems with your shoulders when pressing them above head, then the neutral press, can be a great alternative to doing it. The reason for this is because our elbows are in a much more natural position as they go up, because our hands are facing towards each other. And again, we can do this with a single arm and the alternating methods that you'll see coming up. Again, neutral press is a great alternative for those who have trouble with their shoulders, as it follows a much more natural movement in the shoulder capsule, which is always important for us wheelchair users, as we need to look after those shoulders. So if you're ever worried, neutral press is a better way to go than the traditional shoulder press. If you want to mix it up again even more and challenge yourself, then the Arnold press is a great alternative. At the bottom here, we bring them in, so almost in a bicep curl position. We twist them out and push them up above your head. This increases the time under tension of when we're doing this exercise, meaning that it is harder. And believe me, try the difference between the two and you'll soon notice the difference. Again, we've got the double arm variation, the single arm that you can see here, and now we're showing you the alternating version as well. With the alternating version, you are keeping that muscle under tension for a long time, and it can be really, really challenging. So it's a great way to take your shoulder training to new heights using these dumbbells. Next up, we're going to get a bit more isolating here, taking the triceps out of it by doing a front raise. Simply with the straight arms, raise them up in front of you, or even with a slightly bent arm if you need to, and then lower them back down to start position, isolating those front deltoids. Here we've got a single arm variation of it. I personally prefer this, as I can hold on with the other arm. It gives me a little bit more balance and I can focus on lifting the weight solely. But another great variation to do basically the same as a single arm, but we do one arm at a time, alternating between the two, is a really great way to be able to focus on each arm, but also speed up the process so you don't have to do as long of a set. Next up, we're going to shift our focus from the front deltoid to the middle deltoid here with the lateral raise. With a slightly bent arm, raise those dumbbells up to around about shoulder height and lower them back down. What this does is solely targets that middle deltoid, giving a great isolation exercise. And just like before with the other exercises, we've got some variations here that you can do. A single arm, which is really going to challenge your balance because it's coming right out to the side and throwing you off. Or we can do the alternating one, which will throw us off side to side, and it means it's actually a really great core workout as well as doing the shoulders too. Sometimes you might want to just focus on those shoulders, sometimes you like to mix it up with other things. It's always good to have variety. Talking about variety, we have got a front raise to lateral raise. So we're combining the last two exercises together, doing a front raise, coming round, doing a lateral raise down, and then reversing on the way back round. This really challenges the shoulders because they are working for a long time and it is going to be hard all the way through. Again, single arm variation here if you need to do it. But this is an especially challenging exercise on those front and middle deltoids. And as always with these exercises, we could do an alternating version if that works for you. Always try and have a play around, find what works for you, and stick with what is good for you and your ability level. Next, we can take that front raise to new heights, literally by raising it all the way up above the head. What this does is both engage the front deltoid, but also engage the stability muscles as we bring them up overhead and provides a challenge to the core. However, if you just want to get that focus on the challenge of getting it overhead and not focus on the core, the single arm variation is a great alternative because you can hold on with one hand and just focus on the stability muscles within the shoulder joint. And then we can also do an alternating version. I particularly like this one. I feel like it's really great for focusing on one arm at a time so I can get good mind-muscle connection on that shoulder joint. Here we now have an upright row. This is a bit of a different exercise here where we pull it dumbbells up to the armpits and then lower them back down again. This kind of focuses on both the front and the middle deltoids in a slightly different way. We can also do this single arm, which is a nice variation on this, as we can slow it down, focus on that connection between the mind and the muscle, and really work those shoulders in a new and a different way. We also get a little bit of trap activation here, so we do get a bit of a compound exercise doing two different muscles at once. And like before, we can do the single arm and alternating variations as well to mix up and make things a little different. And then lastly, we've got one here which is more for the rotator cuff muscles than it is for the deltoids, but it's called a W curl. Now, although it's called a curl, we're not curling up here. We're aiming to rotate the palms around, so the exercise starts with the thumb pointing forwards and it ends up with the thumb pointing behind you. This activates those rotator cuff muscles and really gives them a great workout, which is quite rare to be able to hit these muscles with a dumbbell. But this is a great version, and you can do the double arm, single arm, and as you can see here, the alternating version. A great exercise. But on this, be sure to lean forwards to get the most out of activating these muscles. Okay then, let's fire up those biceps with some dumbbell bicep exercises. And starting off here, let's start with a classic exercise that we all know and love, the bicep curl. Simply dangle your arms by your side, flex at the elbow, curling those weights up to the shoulder area and lower them back down slowly. Throughout this, I'm going to be showing you some variations on the curl, but let's start with a variation specifically for the standard one, which is a single arm variation. The single arm allows us to focus on just one muscle at a time and really helps us to connect our mind and our muscle together. Another way to do this is the alternating bicep curl, which is a really nice way to focus on each muscle at once, but also speed up the single arm variation by doing it all in one set. A great way to hit those biceps. Let's start with our first big variation here, which is the hammer curl. As you can see here, it's the same variation as the previous one, but instead of rotating the hands as we come up, we keep them locked with our palms facing each other all the way up and all the way down. This slightly shifts the focus on the bicep and works it in a slightly different way than the regular bicep does, because we're not doing that wrist rotation, which is part of what the bicep function is. As you can see here on the hammer curl, here is a single arm variation and an alternating version too, which is up to you which one you want to do, but it gives you some options here to be able to mix it up, change things, and make it suitable for your workout or your ability needs. Now we've got a new variation here called the drag curl. With this one, our palms are faced up throughout the whole movement, but instead of trying to curl up by bending at the elbow, we're trying to lift them in a straight line up to our armpits, and by doing that, we're pushing the elbow back behind us. This changes the strength curve on the exercise and makes the hardest part of the exercise the top part, where we're at max peak contraction for maximum effect of strengthening those muscles. Again, we've got the double arm variation, the single arm variation that I've just shown you, and here we've got the alternating version too. As always, pick the one that works for you, but this drag curl is a great way to change things up and challenge you in a new way. Then we can do the drag curl with the hammer curl variation, mixing those previous two together to make these hammer curls slightly different and slightly harder towards that top end of the movement. Again, that top end of the movement is where we're at peak contraction, and if we're lifting those weights at peak contraction, at the strength curve at the right place, it means that we are getting maximum strength from these exercises. As always, again, we've got the double arm variation, the single arm variation you can see here, and now the alternating version. With this, the key is to think about pushing that elbow back, whether that's on the regular drag curl or the drag hammer curl. Push that elbow back, keep that dumbbell in a straight line, pull it up towards your armpits. Now we've got a slightly different grip variation, which is the reverse bicep curl. On this one, our palms face down throughout the whole movement and we lift it up. This really puts the pressure on one part of the bicep and completely isolates it from the other part of the bicep that's working. This means that we're getting a different type of workout altogether. This is a much more advanced workout if you're trying to hit a specific target. I would recommend sticking with the previous ones that we've already done. Those are probably going to be better for your goals. But if you want to do something different and you want that option, then try the reverse bicep curl. But believe me, I think you'll be better off with the regular bicep curl, but I want to give you all of the options in this video. Next, we've got a Zottman curl, which is named after a man called Zottman. And to do this, basically we pull up with a regular bicep At the top, we rotate it round and then go down as if we were doing one of those reverse bicep curls. This is a nice way to change things up a bit and to activate the muscle in a different way. Another great thing about this is that because we're doing that rotation at the top, our mind muscle connection is going to be higher because we're focusing on moving it in a different way, but also we are activating it for a longer period of time, so we've got more time under tension, which increases the strain on the muscle fibers, which can increase muscle growth. A great way to do a bicep curl in a slightly different way with a variation. Now, on this one, we are transferring onto a bench and doing this curl here. What is fantastic about this is one of the rare exercises that we can put our bicep in a stretched position because it's pulled out behind us. This really hits the biceps in a new and different way than you might know. And believe me, if you do this or the hammer curl variation you can see now, you are going to feel this the next day because it is super intense, but a super great way to hit those biceps. What's great about the across body curl is that it mixes things up again by activating some other muscles in the upper body as we exercise. We're getting a little bit of chest activation and a little bit of front deltoid activation as we're doing this exercise. This changes things up a little bit and is really great for some sport specific movements. I think this really is great for simulating grabbing a rugby ball or a basketball and pulling it onto your lap or in front of your chest ready for a pass. A great way to be sure to do sport-based movements. So this one can be quite specific, and again, stick to the regular bicep curls if you're trying to just do some bicep workout, but if you want some more sport-specific stuff, this could be a great alternative to simulate that movement. Now we're going to change things up and do some combination things, and the first one here is the bicep curl to overhead press. This is a great way to combine lots of different muscle groups into one exercise. As we curl it up, we're activating the bicep. As we lift it up slightly from there, it's the front deltoid going into deltoids and triceps as we push them up above our head. A great full body workout that we can do with the double arm variation, the single arm as you're seeing here, and now the alternating version too. I'd recommend trying the 3 different variations of this bicep curl to overhead press to find the one that works for you. Personally, I think that there are various ways that each one of these is unique and good for you. Now we've got a little bit of a different one here. It's a bicep curl to a lateral raise, and it's a bit of a deceiving title because it's more of a lateral punch more than anything, where we curl it up, punch it out to the side and bring it back in. What this does is keeps that shoulder activated as we push it out to the side, meaning that this is also working the middle deltoid as well as the biceps at the same time. Another great sport-based movement. This can be a way to do fencing or again any wheelchair-based sports that involves balls where we have to throw them to the side. The things that you can think of here, maybe some tennis movements as well. Lots of different ways that this could be useful for you to make sure you're getting some sport-specific movement in. Next, we've got a bicep curl to chest press, and again, this is more of a chest punch than anything, but this, as you can see, could be another sport-based movement. Maybe we're bringing a ball onto our lap and doing a chest pass, whether that's basketball, whether that's rugby, or maybe it's for a different thing. Again, we've got fencing, we've got tennis, maybe even some swimming-based movements that you can see that are simulated here. If you're a sports person and a wheelchair user, think of what works for you and how this simulates to your movements. And again, with all of these, we have got our double arm variation, our single arm variation, and our alternating variations to mix things up, make it different for you, and make it specific for you, your ability, and your needs. Let's move swiftly now on to some tricep exercises, and starting here with the triple crush. So remember that bicep curl to overhead press? Well, we're adding in a tricep extension too. So once you hit the top, tricep extension, and bringing it all the way back down to the starter position. A great way to combine exercises for a maximum intensity. And that exercise we've added to that is this tricep extension. Simply lower those weights behind your head with the bent elbow and then extend up the best you can and back down to the starting position to repeat for the required amount of reps. Double arm, single arm and alternating variations here are fantastic. Now, if you are a quadriplegic, you will probably struggle with some tricep exercises, especially those that are overhead. But don't worry, I've got you covered over on my resistance band version of this video, and I have one specifically for you guys on my upcoming cable machine one too. So be sure to subscribe to the channel so you get notified when that comes live, and check out the resistance band workouts too. Next, we've got a tricep kickback. This one might be a little bit easier for some of you. Lean forwards the best you can and extend those dumbbells out behind you. I find this one personally to be super intense, as where we're at full extension is peak contraction on those triceps, and a fantastic way to really intensify the workout. This is one of my go-to tricep exercises if I've only got a pair of dumbbells to work with. Fantastic for everybody who wants to hit those triceps. And again, as always, we have a regular version, we've got a single arm version, and this alternating version here. Personally, I think the double arm variation of this is a particularly great one. I really get good activation on that. Let's move over to the bench tricep here, and this is kind of similar to the extension, but now we're on an incline bench and we're extending it up. This slightly changes the angle of the regular extension, maybe easier for some of you, maybe more difficult because we're lying on the bench, but we've got the incline bench variation and the laying down bench variation, for want of a better word. But yes, this is a great way to hit the triceps, both of these ways on the bench, if you can get on it, and combine it with maybe a dumbbell chest workout or whatever you've already done on a bench. And if you saw those floor exercises earlier as well, if you're already down there, you might as well hit those triceps at the same time, especially if you're doing a chest, tricep, push kind of workout. We can get all those workouts down on the floor rather than you getting up and down each time in between the exercises. So if you're already on the floor, choose these floor tricep extensions. A great way to maximize your time down there. So you may need a different size dumbbell in each arm depending on your ability levels, but mix and match, try what you can do. And as I said before, if you're already down on the floor for some of the other exercises, these can be some other great exercises you can throw into the mix as well. If you want to mix these floor tricep exercises up a little bit more as well, here's another variation where instead of bending that elbow down and bringing those dumbbells above your head, we're bringing it down to the chest and extending it up. I find this one a little bit easier at the lower part of the exercise, but a little bit harder at the top end range. And this is because of the strength curves, where we're having the maximum contraction of the muscle. It means that it's more difficult in different parts of the exercise. And again, as always, we've got the double arm variation, the single arm variation, and the alternating variation too. I want to show you these to you guys so you have an idea of what is possible on this. And lastly, we've got some dumbbell back exercises for you here. Starting off with the classic row. Bend over forwards and pull those elbows up towards your back here. With this, I've put a little cushion there to help with just a bit of support through this movement. I find it a great way to help me to be able to maximize my focus on what I'm doing rather than worrying about my balance and that. But with this, make sure you're leading this exercise with the elbow. It can be quite tempting just to pull the dumbbell up, but what happens with that is that we overactivate the biceps as opposed to the back. Pull with the elbow and you'll get maximum contraction in those back muscles. And for this, we've got our double arm variation, our single arm variation, and our alternating. For me personally, and you might find the same, the double arm is far superior on these rows for balance reasons. Now on this next one, we're shifting the focus slightly by doing a wide row variation. When we bring our elbows close into our side, we're hitting more of maybe the lats and a bit of the upper back, but now our focus is more on the traps and the upper back area and the rear deltoids. This slight change in flaring out those elbows can make a huge difference depending on what your target area is and even maybe what you're able to do physically. We've got our double arm variation, single arm variation, and alternating again for this, but find what works for you. Give each one a try, and you might feel that it's slightly different on each one of these exercises, meaning variation, which is always a good thing. Next, we got a bit more of an isolation exercise here with a bent over fly. As you can see now, I'm not leading with the elbows, but I'm trying to pull those elbows up to the side and really squeezing those shoulder blades together. That is where the target of this exercise is. I find it a lot easier with the double arm variation of this to visualize in my mind those squeezing of the biceps. But if you need to, you can still do a single arm variation. but just be aware you may not be able to get the same kind of connection on a single arm variation or an alternating as you will for the double arm together. But this is a fantastic exercise, a really great one specifically for our posture, as it's those muscles that often get left out, get weakened, and if we can strengthen them, all the better. Now, this straight arm row is a very underrated exercise, especially for us wheelchair users who are quadriplegics. And the reason being is when we pull that arm straight, we've got to use our triceps to keep those muscles activated so those arms stay straight. This means we're getting a little bit of a tricep exercise as well as an upper back rear deltoid exercise too. So it's a really great way to get some muscles that we may not be able to exercise normally in an exercise that allows us to do it in a safe way. And if you can do this as a quadriplegic, keeping that arm straight, you're working your triceps. Good job. Let's make sure that if we can do that, then we include this exercise with our back workouts. Now we've got a simple exercise here, a shrug. Keep those dumbbells in your hand, shrug those shoulders up to your ears for a great way to activate the traps in isolation. This is a really great exercise for wheelchair users, especially if you're a higher level injury, because it may be what you're limited to do here anyway. If this is one of the only exercises you can do, then it's a fantastic one that we should include. These really help to stabilize the shoulders, make those muscles that surround those shoulder joints nice and strong so they'll be able to stay resilient for a long time. Also with this, you can go quite heavy. It's a short range of motion. You can go quite heavy, quite safe, and get a great workout in, hitting those back muscles for great effect. So you have it, guys. That is your dumbbell exercises. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy that video. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns about any of the exercises, pop it down in the comment section down below. Hit that like button, it really does help out. And if you're new here or you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.